Well, let's go to our first discussion for the day. Inflation figures in Nigeria in the past 18 months have recorded an upward trend before showing decline in the month of April and May. However, the double-digit inflation trend has been attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic and expanding foreign debt, current scarcity, and extreme insecurity issues, which has resulted in the increase in prices of commodity and consumer goods. Now, as this has happened, despite the country's inflation rate falling for the second month in a row to 17.93% in May 2021, down from 18.12% in April 2021, this drop has not been significant enough to alleviate inflationary pressures impacting the average Nigerian, as the increase in the price of consumer goods continues to persist, reducing the quality of life and standards of living as disposable income of Nigerians continue to deplete. According to the CPI figures, food inflation dropped to 22.28% in May from 22.72% in April, as price moderation was recorded in bread, cereals, milk, cheese, egg, fish, soft drink, coffee, tea, and cocoa, fruits, meat, oil and fats, and vegetables. With the current realities on ground and the driver of inflation unabated, analysts are expecting that headline inflation for the month of June will likely creep back to 18.1%, a level last seen in March 2021, as this could represent a point of inflection on the trend line of declining inflation, which started in April 2021. Well, to discuss this and, of course, shed more light, make us understand what this means, I have joining me live via Skype from Victoria Island. He is the immediate past Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Muda Yusuf. Dr. Yusuf, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Tolu. Good afternoon, and good afternoon, viewers.
Yes, DG, let us go straight to this. Do you think there will be an increase or will sustain this decline that has happened in 2 months? What do you make of this? A lot of projections are already out there, and I know you've seen it. How does this come to you? What do you think, and what are the fundamentals, or what are you putting into consideration?
Well, thank you very much. The inflationary pressure is likely to remain very high. And when we talk about these changes, the changes we have seen so far are very, very marginal. In terms of materiality of those changes, I don't think they are really something to reckon with. Because the last figures we had 17.98 or something, which is almost 18% for headline inflation. And the one before it was also close to that. So I reckon that the threshold of inflation will remain essentially the same. Because whether we are talking of 18%, 18.5, 18.2, we are still talking about an inflationary situation that is also very, very difficult to continue to live with. Whether as individuals in terms of the welfare, or whether as businesses in terms of the operating cost. And in all of this, we need to look at the context of the principal drivers of inflation. Because if you want to solve a problem, you must identify the causes of the problem. We are talking now within the framework of using a causative analysis. You know what the causes are before you know what the solutions will be. We can categorize the key drivers into 3. We have the cost push factors, that is factors pushing costs of production and cost of operation. We have factors around supply chain disruptions. I'm talking of factors that are disrupting outputs in the economy. Then we have the monetary factor, which is the monetization of fiscal deficit. In some other literature, this is regarded as inflation tax. These are the 3 key components that drive inflation. So if you want to locate why we are where we are today, as far as the general price level is concerned, it is in this compartment that we locate them. And if you talk of cost push inflation, you'll be looking at some key elements, like the high energy cost. The cost of diesel today is around 280 naira per liter or even more. A few months ago, it was around 200 or slightly above 200. We are talking about 280 naira per liter. That's a significant increase. And this has a major impact on cost from two angles. First, most of the trucks that we see moving products around the country, they are moving food products, moving raw materials, moving manufactured goods, all of them are running on diesel. So to the extent that the cost of diesel has gone up this high, it will affect the cost of transportation. And this ultimately will be transferred to the final consumer. Then we have the issue of the cost of logistics. This involves the entire chain of moving products from one point to the other, beyond just transportation. The challenges you have in the ports is a major factor in terms of logistics. The cost of clearing cargo and all the bureaucracy and bottlenecks in the ports are part of the logistics problem, creating bottlenecks for economy and increasing the cost of production. Then we have the challenge of productivity in the economy. The economy is such that the productivity level is very low, principally because of the state of infrastructure, the low application of technology across all the key production sectors. That is also contributing to cost, because if you are not producing efficiently, if the productivity is low, eventually your unit costs will be very high. And that is what you are going to pass on to consumers. Then you have the challenge of exchange rate depreciation. Many of the production activities that we have in the economy has different degrees of import content. And we know what the exchange rate situation has been. Even though we talk about the NAFEX rate at 410 or 411, the operating exchange rate is over 500. This is also reflecting in the cost of production. It's reflecting in the cost of operation. So these are the key factors within the context of cost push inflation. Then you have the supply chain disruptions or output disruptions in the economy. The security situation has disrupted output in the agricultural sector mainly. And once output drops and demand remains constant, prices will go up. That is elementary economics. So we are seeing disruption of output in the agricultural sector. Many of the farmers are now in the IDP camp. Those who are not in the IDP camp are afraid to even go to their farms. And these are the people providing the food that we eat, largely. Because close to 90% of the food we eat in this country are produced by these farmers. So that has taken a toll on output. Then the port situation, because of the bottlenecks, is also affecting the flow of raw materials to the factory, to production. That is also taking a toll on output. Then we have some industries whose raw materials have been excluded from the foreign exchange market, from the official foreign exchange market by the CBN. That is also has created a lot of disruption in the production of some of those products, because they cannot have access easily to the foreign exchange. Then we have the foreign exchange illiquidity. That's the liquidity problem we are having in the foreign exchange market. You have a typical manufacturer wants to source raw materials, needs some foreign exchange. They request for maybe 100,000 or 50,000 US dollars. Some of them get just about 5,000 or 10,000. So there's a major liquidity problem. So that is why a lot of them are now patronizing even the black market at an exchange rate of over 500. So these are factors affecting the disruptions around output. Then we have the trade policy. Trade policy is about how you manage your import and exports. But in this instance, we are looking at the impact on imports. Things like the border closure, import restriction, import bans, those things also contribute in a way to inflation. I'm not saying that we should just open the borders for just any goods to come in. But we need to be careful the way we shut borders, the way we impose import bans, the way we exclude some critical products from the foreign exchange market, because at the end of the day, these things have very profound implications for inflation. Because if people are not able to import raw materials, they are not able to produce, or they are just producing suboptimally, the output will be low, demand is constant, prices will go up. So these are issues that we need to worry about. Then you have the issue of monetization of fiscal deficits. In some other literature, this is called inflation tax. If the CBN is funding deficits beyond a particular threshold, it is highly, highly inflationary. So if you are talking about inflation, we also need to look at the monetary dimension of this inflation. The latest figure that was released by the finance minister indicated that 480 billion naira was paid as interest. Interest, not principal, interest on monies borrowed to finance deficits from the central bank. That's interest on ways and means. So if interest component is 480 billion, how much will you then say is the principal? It's very indicative. So the more we monetize fiscal deficit, and when I say monetizing fiscal deficit, that is getting the CBN to finance fiscal deficit, the more we create inflation problem. And inflation has this systemic effect, not just on the general price level, headline inflation, food inflation, even on the exchange rate. It puts pressure on exchange rate because of the liquidity effect, because of the supply and money supply effect. So these are the principal drivers of the challenges of inflation that we are dealing with.
Okay, Dr.
So
Yusuf,
if you want to deal with it, yes.
Dr. Yusuf, allow me to interject now. Thank you very much for breaking this down, putting clarity, and we could know where we're going next from here. But while I would like you to continue, rising global commodity prices and, of course, impact of seasonality is something that is also very important, particularly with regards to food inflation. What are you also looking at around that? Of course, insecurity also affects food, but what are you thinking along that line? Nigerians want to hear more about food.
Well, seasonality, you have said it. First, the security situation is having a major effect on food supply. There is no doubt about that. Issue of seasonality is also a factor. I mean, during rainy seasons, we have an increase in output, which helps to moderate prices. But even with the current situation, if you have the rainy season and the farmers don't feel secure to go to the farm, then how will the rainy season even impact on harvest? You can only harvest what you have planted. You can only harvest what you have maintained through the season. If you are not able to go to farm either to maintain your crops or to plant or even to harvest, then what will you harvest? So these things are very fundamental. And again, there is the factor of applying technology to agriculture. We have a population of over 200 million people. Many of our agriculture they are rain fed. That is, we depend on rain, which is why we talk about seasonality. In many advanced economies, we are talking about irrigation and regular planting throughout the year, not waiting for rain. Then we still have an agriculture that is dependent on hoes and cutlasses. Even in rice that we often celebrate, many of them are still doing the planting manually. So the application of technology is not keeping pace with the demand for food. That is in addition to the disruption that we have seen around the agricultural production. And you have to move these things around because these foods are planted in different parts of the country. And this is a geographically very vast country. The cost of moving these things from one end of the country to the other is very prohibitive. And some of them are perishable. So by the time you even get to the urban centers where these things are in high demand, you have lost sometimes up to 30% of the output. And all of these costs will have to be factored into the prices that these products, whatever is left, will be sold. So seasonality is key, but we need to look at the wider ramifications of agricultural productivity in the economy and the need for us to apply a lot more technology to agriculture and to ensure that all the inputs that we need to actually transform agric in terms of its productivity, we make it very easy for those in agriculture to get. Talk to poultry farmers. They are going through hell in terms of having to get feed for their poultry products. Talk to those who are in fishery. You know, talk to even those who are in crop farming. The cost of equipment, the cost of all these things, because these things are imported, they can't get it where it is available. It is not affordable. These are things you need to scale agric output and agric productivity. These things are not there. So we need to deal with these things in a much more fundamental way, and along the lines of all the critical principal drivers that I've mentioned earlier.
Okay, now DG, let's move this discussion to this angle. Let's now look at the effects of all of these figures and the fundamentals, the factors that you've identified on the market and investors' confidence. That is on one side. Then on the flip side, an MPC meeting is scheduled for 2 weeks' time, I think to be 26th or 27th of this month. What do you think will be the decision of the MPC on the monetary stance? It's a two-in-one question.
Well, in terms of the effects of inflation are very obvious. When people are talking of hunger and poverty, inflation most of the time is at the heart of it, because the purchasing power gets weakened, is getting weaker and weaker every day. And to the extent that purchasing power is getting weak and prices are going up, there is no way that the citizens will not complain about poverty and about hardship. So it has a major implication for the welfare of the people. It has a major implication for poverty. It's a poverty accelerator. That is what inflation is. Then it affects production costs. That is also the case, because in many cases, many of the inputs that people use, investors use in production, their prices are also going up. And once production cost is going up, your prices will go up. If prices goes up, there will be consumer resistance. And the degree of consumer resistance depends on what we call demand elasticity. If you are in a sector where the demand for your product is elastic, then you are in trouble. And what I mean by that is, when demand is elastic, is a product where people can either find alternatives or the consumers can just walk away. That means you cannot pass the cost to the consumer. So it has implications for profit margins. It has implications for sustainability of business. It also has implications for mortality of businesses. How long will a business survive? You go to the market, they will tell you that because prices are up, people are not buying. Even the average market woman. That is what they will tell you, because sales will be low. So these are the effects of inflation. It's not a good thing for anybody. And that is why we have to do whatever we can do to ensure that we rein in on this inflation. And talking about MPC, yes, most times we have listened to the Central Bank of Nigeria, and many a times it's a state of dilemma that we are faced with. I'm talking of the monetary authorities, because on one hand, they worry about the stagnating economy. They want to grow the economy. They want to boost the economy, which means boosting liquidity. On the other hand, they have a major responsibility to ensure that they curb inflation. So it presents a dilemma, even for the central bank. But right now, inflation is, well, although we are still waiting for the figures, but inflation is currently at a threshold that is hurting a lot of things. But the question remains whether the solution or on how effective the monetary solution is in terms of using monetary tools to deal with the inflationary problem. You can see from the array of factors, the principal factors driving inflation. Apart from the monetization of deficit, which is a major source of money supply growth, all the other factors are fiscal. Security, the problem at the ports, all these logistics problems, policy problems, import bans and all the border closure, these are monetary, these are fiscal issues. So a lot more rests outside the monetary phenomenon or the monetary framework, apart from the monetization of fiscal deficit. But I see the CBN also reviewing its position and possibly even tightening the monetary policy a lot. I mean, a bit in this next MPC meeting.
Right. Well, it's a good way to leave it. Let me congratulate you a successful completion of your tenure as DG of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We appreciate you so much, Dr. Muda Yusuf. Thank you. I would always be reaching out to you to always help us shed light on issues like this.
Thank you very much, Olu. Thank you.
All right.
And,
enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you to all the team.